Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Now we welcome you back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, June 26th, and I had to switch my microphone from my computer to my mic. I've done that before, Kenny. I've done these whole shows where I'm holding the mic. I'm not a mic stand guy. I like holding the mic. I have done shows where I've held the mic for the entire show, and it's just been on my computer microphone, so I'm holding it for just no reason. That's never fun to edit back.
I bet Peyton's done that before. I've certainly done it. My mic's on a stand when I'm in St. Louis, and I'm pretty positive there have been a couple times, and no one's noticed either. I think the quality is probably very similar.
Relatively the same. Yeah, these computer mics are good. Kenny is here. I am here myself, Jack. And we're going to talk some big picture recruiting stuff for Mizzou football. We thought this might be a decent place to check in on the back, Kenny, of two more commitments for the Tigers in the 2027 football recruiting class, and what has been a far more eventful recruiting cycle, at least to this point, from where we were at this point last year. So Kenny is gonna have to field all of my and hopefully some of your recruiting questions as well. But let's talk about the two latest gets for the Tigers, Kenny, because they did get two more since our last show, both on the 22nd. If I believe they added one of the top offensive lineman prospects in the country, four-star Kyler Kuhn out of Kansas City. He's the number 204th player nationally, number 13 interior offensive lineman, and the number 4 player in the state of Missouri out of St. Pius X. They're in Kansas City. And the other one, a running back, another 4-star, Kingston Miles. He's on the other side of the state out of St. Louis. Goes to St. Mary's, number 5 player in the state, number 17 running back, and the number 245th overall player per the On3 industry rankings. I will let you take your pick here. I know these were two guys that you have mentioned before. These are two in-state guys, two huge gets. I saw, the Twitter timeline kind of buzzing about these two, and I think it seems rightfully so based on their ranking, and I think based on their in-state status too. These are two really nice additions for Mizzou football. And actually, I'm not going to let you have a choice. Let's do Kingston Miles first. Let's start with the St. Louis acquisition for Mizzou football. What should the people know about the Tigers running back commit here in the 2027 class?
Yeah, I think right off the top, you mentioned St. Mary's. It's a very familiar school to Missouri fans. Someone who's probably going to see a good amount of run this year and had coming off one of his best seasons. I mean, his best season at Missouri. And Jamal Roberts, running back who came from the same high school. It's been a different football staff since then. I've made a couple stops at St. Mary's, talked to them about it. Some of them were around the program at the time when Jamal was there, but it's been a changing of the guard since then. And a lot of people want to jump to the conclusion, Kingston Miles is going to go to Mizzou and he's just going to become Jamal Roberts. He's just going to be the next Jamal Roberts. It's not the case. And even I brought that up to the associate head coach over there at St. Mary's and Chris Brooks. I said, I think this is going to be something that people jump to the conclusion about. And he jumped in right away when I said that. He said, that's not true. It's not true that he's going to Mizzou because of Jamal Roberts. Yes, they're very close. They have a good relationship. Whenever they go up, whenever Kingston would go over to Missouri, that was someone that, he always resonated with. He always spoke with just about what it meant to be an SEC running back. What are some of the challenges that you can face early on and things that you can overcome? They had that, they had that bond together. But he committed to Auburn first. A lot of people kind of pushed Auburn out of the picture for him, and that never really made sense to me. Even I reported about it. I asked him about it when even after Auburn landed Myson Johnson Cook in April, those Tigers were still looking for another running back. They kept recruiting Kingston, even though he was on the higher end as well. He's a Rivals 300 player, just like Myson Johnson Cook is. And they kept after him. I thought that was kind of the best way to put it is, Golish was sending him personal videos, just saying, enjoy the day. Just little things like that that just can kind of go a long way for a high school kid and a recruit who's trying to find his college for the next level. But at the same time, Missouri wasn't going to give up. I talked to a couple, people at Missouri, and they were saying, maybe in the fall, we'll be able to really put, more of the foot to the gas here and get him back to campus, because he made a good point. He is 2 hours away from campus. He is not 2 hours away from Auburn. He is, a day's trip to Auburn, pretty much, 8 to 9 hours. Made that one before. And it made sense that Mizzou would probably could pull something off to get him on campus, try to change his decision. They got him on campus pretty quickly. To 2 weeks after he committed to Auburn, he ended up making that official visit that he already had scheduled with Missouri, June 12th to the 14th. Took him about a week to flip. It was in the works for a while, and even Auburn prepared for it, knowing that Kingston Miles was probably out the door, taking Monty Williams, who was a running back committed to West Virginia, and a recent commit to West Virginia as well, out of Southwind in Memphis, Tennessee, and a one-time Missouri target as well. He was supposed to visit Missouri in April and ended up not making the trip. But this is the first running back in the class. The Tigers definitely going to go after a second one. It's just a trend for Curtis Looper in this group to get a second one. Talk to some people at Missouri. It would make sense that maybe Missouri just keeps doors open. Landon Williams Callis is someone that they've just loved. Curtis Looper loves him to death and just what he's able to do, and it's given him very high praise for his abilities. It's hard to imagine that you can pull off both with the NIL that might be allocated to high schoolers right now, just for Missouri. We don't know what those figures look like. A guy like Myson Johnson Cook is someone, they'll always, keep a connection with. There's guys on staff that know him very well. But that second running back spot could fall in line with someone that we don't know about yet. That's how it was last year. I didn't know who Preston Hatfield was, even though he was right down the road in the Kansas City area. Could be a running back in like North Carolina, committed to a school right now that we just haven't heard about yet. And Missouri could do an evaluation in his senior season and find that second running back. But that's really just what I have on Kingston Miles. Very explosive running back. The Tigers didn't offer him until this past November. They wanted to offer him at the Mississippi State game, which was the home finale. He ended up not being able to make it. So Looper offered him over the phone, got him on campus for a spring visit in March, and kept going back and forth, and made it a priority too to hang out with his family even when he wasn't there. They took his dad out to dinner once, Curtis Looper and some of the coaches, including one of the recruiting staffers, Amari Bland. So they always liked Kingston, and it just never made sense that they weren't going to keep going after him even after he committed to Auburn.
You answered one of my other questions, which was just, were they going to go after another running back? And I think it makes sense with what you were saying with why they are. Also, not to immediately make another Jamal Roberts comp after you said explicitly that he is not going there because of Jamal Roberts, but Kingston Miles on his On3 page listed at 6'2", 205. Jamal Roberts last year, 6'2", 212. So the build a little bit similar. Obviously, how accurate those measurements before you're in college are is relative.
They might be pretty accurate.
Okay.
I'm actually going to pull it up on the back end to see if it's verified, because I can tell you that they're not verified. My article from is 2025, from last summer.
Okay, so
it could be around then, because I don't think he posted anything, but he did go to the Under Armour camp. And they get verified measurements from that, and Rivals is associated with that camp now. Maybe I'll try to find it and see if I can update that as well.
Well, either way, I mean, it feels like a positive get to just, for all the reasons that you said, seem to be recruiting him pretty actively, recruiting his family pretty actively, and it doesn't sound like Auburn will necessarily go away. So this is still, as all of these commitments are, a battle that you ultimately have to win come signing day, and but a good early start, I think, for Mizzou.
I don't know if the bridge is necessarily burned, and I've been trying to contact Kingston to talk about it. If I get back to St. Louis soon, I'll definitely talk to him about it. I don't think the Auburn road is necessarily is still open right now between the two. This is a new Auburn staff. They want to hit home runs too on the recruiting trail, but they also want guys that want to be at Auburn. And Kingston just kept the door open. I think that also happens with Missouri applying a lot of pressure to get him on campus, just to get back around him. There's a reason that Missouri was in that top group, and they wanted to remind him why they were.
And remind him they did. So a great addition at the running back spot with Kingston Miles. All right, flipping over to KC. This was one It felt like for weeks that you had been saying, all right, interior offensive line, we know Missouri's gone after and gotten a few early on. You always hear Peyton say, you can never have too many good interior offensive linemen, but this may be the best of the bunch here with Kuhn out of St. Pius in KC. The Tigers finally sealing the deal with getting his commitment, Kenny?
Yeah, I think Missouri's done a good job so far with this class. Going after guys that want to play for Mizzou and ones that'll commit, and they'll overhaul their entire social media. I know that's just so silly to say, just about high schoolers. Oh, they're overhauling their social media. They're making it look like that they're not making they are making it appear that they are commits to Missouri. I don't want to say look, they are definitely commits for Missouri. And they're going after guys that want to continue to build on a class, continue to live by the notion of, the best in Missouri stay in Missouri. We really haven't seen Missouri live by that in recent classes, just because of how national recruiting has gone with the improvements on the assistant coaches staff, and a lot of polls through Florida, Alabama, Texas, Georgia. You go to all these different states to find recruits. This 2027 class is so underrated in the state of Missouri. It is so talent rich. I just can't say it enough. I was talking with Greg Smith on the national side at Rivals, and he agreed with me. There's just so many guys in this group that could be, performers at SEC schools across the country, even like Big Ten schools. There's just a lot of talent in the state right now, especially in that top 10. And there's guys that you could have told me that the top 10 all went to Mizzou. If 9 of the 10 went to Mizzou, I'd still believe you. But I think it's around like 7 in the Rivals industry ranking that chose Mizzou in that top 10 that are ranked right now. And Kyler was someone who took 3 official visits. He went to Nebraska, Iowa, and Missouri, and started that OV schedule at Missouri. I didn't really know where he was going to go even after talking to him after his official visit. He's very cerebral. He's very smart. And he even mentioned, I can't put my head in the clouds right now. I have to go through this recruiting process and not commit to a school during it, because, man, it feels so good, that Sunday morning after the official visit. How am I going to feel on Tuesday, after I've announced this commitment? Never wanted to jump to a conclusion with the school. So he went to see all 3 and made that decision. And something that really resonated with me, and it resonated with Kyler definitely. I was talking to his dad, Matt, earlier this week, and it was a conversation he had with Brandon Jones about, where do you see yourself after college? And then, kind of points back to in Kansas City. I want to be in the Kansas City area. Why go somewhere, on the coast? Why go somewhere far from home and build a network over there when you're just going to come right back? And so I thought that was something interesting of, they are looking past, they always say to chase 2 dreams. And in Kyler's case was, life after football is definitely going to be here. So why not have, the connections I build through football, the connections I build through whatever my career path will be after football? Why not have them in the state that I call home? Why not have it in the state I see myself in the future? Really resonated from Brandon Jones to him. One of my favorite stories from Kyler's recruitment is back in early January. Offensive line coach Brandon Jones sent him a text saying, "Hey, coming to school at the end of the week at St. Pius, the 10th in Kansas City." And Kyler was like, "Coach, I'm not at school right now. I'm on a bus. I'm driving down to a small town in Oklahoma for a wrestling tournament." And Brandon Jones said, "Where's it at?" And Kyler told him. He said, "Okay, I'll meet you at 3." And he ended up going to the wrestling meet, and Kyler prefaced it saying, "Coach, I have no idea when I'm going to wrestle. These tournaments are very weird. You could be sitting there for hours, and
they are weird, by the way, as someone who's covered said wrestling tournaments. They are weird for time."
And so he was there for 4 hours, Jack, and didn't even get to see him wrestle once. And Coach Jones didn't care. Brandon Jones did not care. He was just there to see Kyler. He got to see him for 15, 20 minutes and spent, the majority of the time is 4 hours in the stands with Kyler's father, Matt. And, Matt thought it was awesome. Kyler's dad did. And he was saying he remembers sitting there, and the pilot for the team's private jet said, "Hey, Coach, we got to go." He's like, "It's been too long. It's been 4 hours." They redirected to be there, and they just had to get out at a certain time. And, something that always kind of stuck with him. And that kind of goes back with, the conversation that they had about, branding and, why not put build your network where your feet are, and, not somewhere else where you might be just playing college football for a couple of years. And he's going to be a guy that's locked in with Mizzou. I could really see that. I don't see anything pulling him in any other direction. And one of the big components of his recruitment, and a guy that really played a huge part was assistant offensive line coach Evan Boehm, who's been on staff for the past couple of years, but this is his first year as an assistant offensive line coach. Every time I spoke to Kyler, and I spoke to him a handful of times, and it was getting over, we're not asking you, what'd you think about Brandon Jones this time around, or what school you saw at campus. No, it was more of me asking him, did you wrestle Evan Boehm yet? Because it was just a constant, it constantly just kept building and building. Like in January, they first kind of started joking about it. In March, during his spring visits for spring practice, they started a little hand fighting, kind of getting in there and, about to start to wrestle. And after the end of that, once he said his official visit, Evan Boehm said the match is coming. And, I never thought it would actually happen, just for the betterments of, the recruits. You don't want anyone to get hurt. You don't want to be the reason, you hurt a recruit or a coach gets hurt in the same sense. But I posted a couple photos and I retweeted it after Kyler committed. And it's in my story my latest one. It's free on Mizzou Today, about some of those inside stories during the photo shoot that Kyler had while he was at Mizzou. He did a couple wrestling poses with Evan Boehm. And for those who don't know Evan Boehm, if you listen to this show, you probably do, but former Missouri offensive lineman, played in the NFL, one of the top players in Kansas City ever, as well, playing at least Summit West. He's an interior offensive lineman. He won the Simone Award, which is, the big time award in the Kansas City area for football. And there's so many similarities there. And, his dad was like, this guy's done what you want to do. And it makes their relationship pretty easy to blossom from that point.
Yeah, that's such a cool story with the wrestling trip, and again, just shows Brandon Jones's dedication to the guys that he wants to get, and certainly shows his interest and I guess evaluation of Kyler. He's such a talented prospect that, hey, yeah, I'll go to his wrestling meet. I won't just wait to talk to him. I want to make sure I can build a relationship with this kid and have that. So pretty cool. And he has had a very strong, it feels like, just recruiting cycle for himself with getting who he's gotten. And of course, so Kingston and Kyler, now 2 of the 4 highest rated recruits, with Chris Harris and Jack Brown. Yeah, I think he's number 1 in terms of just the rankings for laymen like me who want to evaluate it like that. Obviously, those things don't ultimately matter with a projection of a player, but important acquisitions for Mizzou. And when you bring up Evan Boehm, Kenny, I'm going to ask you this question first, because this was one I wanted to know about. Just when we talk some kind of general recruiting, how Mizzou has done this, by the way, jumped up a spot, I believe, in the SEC with its recruits. I think they are 10th now, and maybe 23rd, 22nd, around there in
26th.
26th still. Okay. In the national rankings, but still pretty solid. But Kenny, one thing I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Evan Boehm. I know we were talking about Wayne Younger, when we were talking about, Tari Miller's recruitment. Who has been, and I've been using the term a lot in the last couple shows, backroom staff. I stole that from soccer. That's like, the guys who aren't the managers, the guys who aren't asking the questions or answering the questions, who get all the FaceTime, but the members of a coaching staff who are doing all the tinkering behind the scenes. Who has been the MVP for you in one position group, of the guy that, no one's going to hear about much, during the season in terms of scheme and their influence maybe on what Mizzou's doing on the field, but in recruiting, who has been that guy, the Evan Boehms, the Wayne Youngers, who's been maybe the best for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, it drives me nuts when I see tweets about like, oh, Eli Drinkwitz is cooking, or, he evaluates running backs like no one else. Like, it's not just him. I'm sure he has a huge influence, but he has all these staffers for a reason. There's a lot of guys pulling a lot of in different directions in the back. And someone, I'm not going to go to like a regular staffer like Chop Harbin or Brian Early or, Jacob Peeler, even though I think Jacob Peeler is probably my recruiting MVP right now for this class, especially if he gets Trey Britton next week. I think he's solidified it. Even when Brandon Jones has 6 commitments, I think Jacob Peeler got the trio that he really wanted. I think I give it to Sabbath Joseph, and you might not even know who that is. Jack, do you? Okay, yeah.
I feel like you've mentioned him, but yeah, refresh my memory.
So he's the assistant edges coach. This is his second year on staff. He came over from Miami after Derek Nicholson did last year. And I think he's done a good job of branching out into different position groups too. He's helping out a lot with the defensive line and edge groups, and the Tigers don't have everyone they want at those positions just yet. Guys like Antoine Jackson, they're still waiting for decisions on. They'll probably have to circle back on a couple defensive linemen this fall. But they have Dami Suwunmi right now from Brownsburg in Indiana. He could be a guy that gets a good ratings boost if he has a good senior season. And Chris Caskey, who's from Nazareth Academy, we've spoken about him and his teammate Luke Angichok being both commits for the Tigers. But I think Sabbath Joseph has done a good job and an unheralded job of branching out and helping out with the Florida connection as well. He went to Miami Central. That's where Tari Miller went to school. Of course, that staff has changed over multiple times since Sabbath Joseph was there, but he's helped out with going on the road and seeing some of these guys. Solomon Efubaho, who visited the Tigers this past weekend, is someone that's very under the radar right now. And, he's not even ranked by rivals yet. And I'm sure he will be after, whenever the next rankings update is. But he's someone that they found. He's originally from Alberta, Canada. He went to Connecticut for a year of high school football. Now he's going to finish out high school at Miami Central. And they found him. I mean, he doesn't have too many, big time offers. Miami is in the fold, but didn't, extend him an opportunity to officially visit. It's really between Mizzou and Jacksonville State right now. But he's a guy that's, he's a little bit older because he had to reclassify. That's never a bad thing at all, in my opinion. Because when you're in Canada too, his grades the grading is a little bit different. And so he is traditionally a class of 2026. He had stayed in Canada. He's 2027 when he moved to the United States. And just another guy like that. So I think that there's a lot of unheralded guys probably on the staff. And I think Sabbath Joseph could be a big one, especially if this edge group and defensive line group continues to grow in the coming months.
I like it. I think that's such an important part. Like if you really dive into this, you find those names that, and then, when they go to other schools, you say, hey, that's a recruiting loss for Mizzou, as much as it might be a culture loss and a scheme fit loss, whatever you want to call it. Those guys are matter too in terms of bringing these players in. So I like that. Your favorite recruiting story that you've written thus far, or just that you've covered over at Mizzou today. You could mention a few if you have a few. You got more to pick from.
That's so hard. That is so hard to choose from. I'm going through the list right now. I mean, the Kyler Kuhn one was.
Yeah, or even maybe favorites. things that happened along any of these guys' journeys to get to Mizzou that people should know.
Yeah, I'll go down the list. I mean, I got a couple. Jack Brown is someone I'm very close with in his family, and I love his dad too, Jason. And I went to see Jack, I think in February after his Mizzou unofficial visit in January, and I was asking him, how do you deal with predictions and not letting it bother you? And he kind of smiled and said, I think it's fun. I think it's fun to think where people think I'm going. And, it's not the end all be all. And then the next month he commits to Mizzou during his official visit, or during a visit for spring practice. And I asked him after, when I went to see him, I was like, did you know that you were going to commit to Mizzou like the 2 times I came to see you in between? And he just smiles and laughs. He's like, yep, I knew. And it's you were ridiculous, or just I don't know how he kept it from me. And his dad kept it from me of all the conversations we had. And I always thought that was funny. And he knew that he was going to go to Mizzou even after visiting in January. They were eating at Flat Branch, and he said something to his dad. He was like, this is where I want to be. This is it. I'm going to go to Mizzou. But they promised
just all the time. Not Mizzou, just Flat Branch.
Oh yeah, this is where I want to be. Yeah, it could be taken out of context, but that was one of my favorite ones of him just telling me, he's like, yeah, I kept it from you for all this time, and he never visited another school in between there, but him and his dad had promised each other that once he committed to a school, they'd do it in person with the staff, with just having respect for those guys. Mentioned the Kyler Kuhn one with Kingston Miles. I've never told anyone this, but I went to see him at St. Mary's a while ago. He was wearing an Iowa State shirt. They get a bunch of different things. Iowa State wasn't even in his top group, and he had taken it off before he came up to talk to me. And I just think he didn't want it to be a conversation starter. And I said, "Is that where you're going?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Oh, I know."
Or if it was on video, yeah.
I was like, I was just messing with you, man. I don't care, but I always thought that was a fun one. Going down the list, Kieran Govan from Republic. I don't know if you remember this, when he committed to Missouri, he came out of the tunnel with the big flag as well. And I know that was one of the more cool ones that we've seen so far. Kobe Rhymes, did not know much about him before he committed, and just learning his story and how he lives with a former Missouri offensive lineman and Jason Palmgren now, and how close they've gotten, and just their competitive spirits too. That was probably one of my favorite stories I got to write, was just hearing about how Jason Palmgren wants him to be a 4-star, and he got a 4-star from 247, and they're just always competing each other for trying to best each other's records and awards that they earned in high school, because they both went, Jason went to North Kansas City, just where Kobe goes as well. Going down the list a little bit more, learning a lot about Luke Angichak's upbringing was pretty fun. He lived in Kobe, Japan for a couple of years, and I even got to ask him about it after his Mizzou official visit. And he was like, yeah, it's like this weird fun fact about me. It makes no sense, but I lived in Kobe, Japan, and they went back after 10 years since he moved. And he said he didn't remember anything like visually, but he said he remembers walking into the grocery store and having a certain smell. Like that was just what stuck with him. And he's like, I've been here before, but I don't remember seeing it. So him and Chris Caskey and Luke would send me some photos of when they were in middle school, and they were always the biggest kids always were teammates. It's outside of 1 year in their entire football careers. And now they're both committed to Mizzou. A fun one too about Tristan Dare, when he committed to Mizzou, when he committed to Michigan, I unfollowed him on Twitter. I was just like, I'm probably never going to talk to you again. Just going to, clear up my feed a little bit. And he texted me right away. And I was like, I think it was just I know he didn't see me unfollow, but he texted me. He's like, Mr. Van Doren, thank you for all the coverage you did. I've committed to Michigan. Just wanted to say thank you for the stories you wrote about me when I was visiting Mizzou. I followed him back, and I was like, I'm never going to follow this guy. This is one of the nicest people I've ever met. And lo and behold, he decommits from Michigan, and the rest is history when he chooses Mizzou. So some of those are my favorite ones. I think Dane Olmstead is a pretty fun one as well, the punter in this class, and his connection to Mizzou. It's like, even when Eric Link left, he reached out to Blake Craig, who he became pretty close with, and he's always looked up to Blake Craig. It's like his idol just in the special teams world, and wanted to be an Under Armour All-American just like Blake was. And it's probably in a good spot and a good opportunity to probably be one of those as the number 1 ranked punter in the nation by rivals in 247. But he reached out to Blake Craig, got in touch with JP John Papuchis and the new special team staff, and put himself out there, and wanted to commit to Mizzou, and that's his dream school. So it's always kind of cool to hear the stories as well.
Yeah, I think those are all great. It's like, you've told a few of those on the show and tied it in, but yeah, I mean, these guys, come with some very interesting, very vast backgrounds and stories. And, now Mizzou's kind of added to that, assuming, obviously you never know who you might end up keeping and losing, with still plenty of time to go before the end. And I will end on that one. The classic, where is Mizzou looking maybe good with position groups? You mentioned they're going to go after another running back. Give me some position groups and a few names that people should look out for here in the next couple weeks. We get to a dead period now where these commits start kind of firing off after this OV season.
Yeah, and even there's been, the percentage of commitments is probably a lot higher this year during official visit season than it has been in recent classes. July 11th will be a big day. Rivals is putting together, a summer signing period is what they're calling it. Just to get a lot of guys to commit, probably around the same time. Everyone can watch them on the same day throughout the day if you're fans of those teams. I'm pulling up my big board right now, or I guess call it a big board. It's my mock class, which doing a mock class right now is just more so putting all the names together so people know where these positions are. Wide receiver Trey Britton announces his commitment next Tuesday. Missouri is certainly leading there for him. Offensive line looks pretty locked up right now. You got 6 guys there. Tight ends, I know the Tigers want a second one. That's another thing, like running back. It could be someone that we don't know about yet, someone who could really develop into that position, not be someone like Jack Brown, who probably makes an impact sooner than later. At edge rusher, there's optimism around Antoine Jackson, edge rusher out of Collierville, Tennessee. That's where he transferred for his senior season. Mizzou's familiar with Collierville as well. Gotten some guys there in the past couple of years. Solomon Efumbaho is someone who told me that he wants to commit on July 1st. Another edge rusher, and Dallas Paldo wants to commit in July as well. Defensive line, I don't know where the Tigers go from here. I told Greg Smith that I think, if they circle back on anyone, it could be MJ Woods, former teammate of Maxwell Warner. He transferred to the Lawrenceville School in New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken. Linebacker, I think that's going to be another one that they have to circle back on or find another target this fall. I don't think they're going to move forward with Caleb Green after conversations that I had with Mizzou since his flip to Nebraska. Cornerback could be in another boat, similar to running back in tight end, get a second guy, just someone who's kind of a late riser. They did that last year as well. And then safety is a little bit of a toss-up. I don't think they're going to go after Malik Moore. They hosted Alan Blackshear recently, a Connecticut commit who's close with Tari Miller. We'll see how that one plays out. But I could also see just safety being done at 2. But I think that 3 is probably going to be the cap again this season.
There you go. Some maybe circle backs defensively, offensive line looking good, and maybe a wide receiver commit to come in the next. Now, what day was that again? July 2nd?
It's the 30th, which is Tuesday.
Oh, it is the 30th. It's before July. I don't know why I heard July. So look out for that for Trey Britton. We'll talk about it if it happens. Thank you, Kenny. So this is great. You absolutely carried.
I feel like a guest.
Somebody say a little bit. It's a little bit more Q&A, which is fine. I don't mind being the question master. We'll leave. I'm sure there'll be plenty of room for me to ramble. Although I think I am ducking a certain quick hit, which I'm really, really excited to be able to do. But I'll let Peyton and Kenny talk about that on the other side as Kenny's realizing what that entails. So we'll let Peyton and Kenny wrap up the show with quick hits.
All right, quick hits time.
Quick hits time.
As Jack said, it's just going to be Peyton and I for this part of the show. We waited a little bit to do this, and waiting is as in it's 4:00 here on Thursday, the day before the show is posted. Jack has 8 hours to edit this. Do you think he'll get it done?
I sure hope he does. That would be really bad if he doesn't.
So the reason we waited, though, is because Mark Mitchell went undrafted in the second round. I think a lot of people were expecting that, but took him a couple hours to sign a Exhibit 10 contract with the Nuggets. The only player from this past year's Mizzou team probably going to get one of those opportunities. And he's headed to Denver for training camp in the Summer League, Peyton.
Hate that spot for him because Christian Braun and Trevin Brazil are there. Good job turning on the light there, by the way. That was smooth. So that sucks that he's teammates with them for the summer. But I'm rooting for Mark Mitchell all the same.
He's probably close with Christian Braun, right? A good chance. Both KC area guys.
Is Braun from Kansas City?
Yeah, I think he's from the area.
I don't know. I guess that would make sense, but I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to look this up in the meantime as well. Christian Braun is from Burlington, Kansas. So I kind of doubt it.
Okay.
Well, he did go to Blue Valley in high school.
People in the basketball world know each other, especially when they're from.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure but like close. I don't know. They are both from that side of like kind of the KC area.
Yeah.
I mean, Mitchell went to Bishop Miege. Braun went to Blue Valley. So Blue Valley Northwest. So I don't know, maybe, but I would have to doubt they're like extremely close, but who knows?
Your jersey of the week, Peyton.
My jersey of the week is going to be Chase Daniel because he got promoted at ESPN, Kenny. Daniel is replacing Jordan Rogers on SEC Network's SEC Nation studio show. Rogers is actually moving to a pretty elevated role with ESPN and ABC. Shout out to Front Office Sports for having this first. That is a bit of a shame because I actually, maybe this is a hot take. I thought Tom Hart and Jordan Rogers, when they were in the booth, were great. I thought that was a really good booth that we got plenty accustomed to on SEC Network. So we'll see what the booth kind of looks like there now. I'd assume he's no longer going to be in that booth, but it's good for Mizzou to see kind of just have some representation up there. Chase Daniel has just been like kind of turned into a bit of a media sensation. So that kind of rise can't hurt Mizzou.
He's also taking over. There's a new Thursday broadcast crew, and he's going to be the color commentator for that as well. So it does make me wonder, do you think Chase Daniel is going to get week 1 for Mizzou?
Could. Yeah.
That game's usually on ESPNU, isn't it?
No, it's been on SEC Network before. I'd have to go back and look, but I think it might have been on ESPNU this past year, but I think most of the time it's SEC Network.
Okay. So, I mean, I don't think we've seen Chase Daniel call a game for Mizzou, so we'll see if that actually happens. Maybe there's too much bias or they might not do it. Jack's Jersey of the Week, or maybe Cloak of the Week, AJ Bedanza. Went to the second overall pick to the Wizards. What?
I thought this was a real image at first. My
No,
apologies.
I don't think it's real.
Well, it's from Pardon My Take, so
considering it's probably grokked, especially the one in the comments too. But the Duke, 1 year at Duke as a freshman, went to the NBA.
Where did AJ DeBonsa go?
Oh man, why did I say Duke? BYU. Yeah, just beat him in a video game. First overall pick to the Wizards. I don't think many were too shocked by that, but do you know what his home state is? I learned this in the last couple months.
Oh, I should know this. I mean, he was the guy in high school, like in that high school class, like him and Peterson. I don't know where though. I kind of forgot.
Massachusetts.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, AJ DeBonza. I don't know where in Massachusetts, but I kept seeing it because I follow a reporter. Yeah, he was just born in Boston, but he went to St. Sebastian's School. And then, of course, went to Utah Prep Academy before he ended up at BYU.
You're a big Massachusetts guy.
Oh, yeah. You can tell by the hat. I almost wore a Red Sox hat on this show. All right.
I like.
Do you have any thoughts on the Rockets draft, man?
They didn't have a first rounder. I don't even know why. Rounder? Yeah, I saw it, but you told me who he was. I didn't know who he was. I don't follow the NBA.
Hang on, I'll find this for you. Jack Cahill. Oh, sorry, that sucks.
No, the Rockets had 1 second rounders. The guy played in Indiana.
Did you trade a bunch of people?
They traded one of them. The one you're looking at, I think, went to the Knicks.
Is this an old one? No, it's not an old one. I can't find it. Oh, well. I don't want to hold up the show.
Give me a second. I can't find it. These articles just don't work. Bruce Thornton is who they got.
Oh, from Ohio State, not Indiana.
Yeah, Ohio State.
AJ DeBonsa, the Duke Blue Devil, and Bruce Thornton, the Indiana Hoosier.
Same colors.
Yeah, he played at Ohio State for like ever.
There you go. You saw him in there last night. All right.
No, I like no cap, and he's the main bird.
Shawnee's main bird of the week. How about this photo, Peyton, for our YouTube viewers? Giannis Antetokounmpo was traded to the Miami Heat on draft night, and the Miami Hurricanes posted an edit of him in a white Canes basketball jersey. How about that, Peyton?
Why don't we move on?
Why don't we move on? This is our perfect opportunity to talk about Giannis going to the Heat. Jack is not.
I know it's the Miami Hurricanes. Ugh, I'm angry still.
Do you remember what the bird is? Because it's not a stork. We had this conversation.
I thought it was. Is it a crane?
No, it's not a crane.
What is it?
I forgot. I even looked it up before.
You looked it up before.
Miami mascot bird. It's Sebastian the white ibis.
The white ibis. That is really cool. Ibises are sick birds. Look into ibises. They're cool. They're cool looking. I don't know anything about them. But Giannis, I mean, he's home. I mean, he was meant to be a Miami Heat. He toiled away in Milwaukee. I mean, this is a superstar player that deserves a superstar stage, not a sideshow in the suburbs. So happy for Giannis. He finally gets the spotlight he deserves. Jack Knowlton.
Really wish Jack would be on for this. He's enjoying his Thursday without us. But there's a lovely photo of Jack holding a Tyler Hero jersey when he was in college. But Look at that. Look how happy he looks. So young and spry.
So young, full of hope, joy, jolly, and whimsy.
No
What
edits whatsoever. We
Mhm.
did post a photo. There he is for his birthday, Jack Holton.
Do you guys know the joke?
Yep. All right.
Why don't you explain it
Your
to me? Okay.
main bird of the week.
My main bird of the week is going to go to the Oregon Ducks because they're also on this list. But College Football 27 released its top 10 offenses and defenses, and Missouri is on the top 10 offenses list there, an 88 overall offense. Interestingly enough, they are tied with Ole Miss. You'll know that is notable because both Kewan Lacey and Ahmad Hardy are 96 overalls in the game, too. So they're being very careful to not weigh in on that debate.
Kuhn Lacey, castaway at Missouri. Not even thought
An
of.
afterthought.
Afterthought. That's the perfect word. They should put that on the back of his jersey. Best thing that any other things about this page? Because I got a couple more numbers for you.
I'd like to hear your numbers. I didn't have any other big takeaways.
85 overall, tied for 14th among teams to start. Only team in college football 27 with 296 overalls in the top 10. 2 players ranked in the top 10. Missouri is the only school, 96 overall. Caden Green and 96 overall, Ahmad Hardy. What does that say, Peyton?
Take that, Ole Miss. I'm kidding. You know what it really says? Do you remember how insistent a lot of Oklahoma fans were about like Caden Green not like taking a bag instead of like developing and becoming like an NFL caliber player? I think we're gonna see some type of put up or shut up this season from him.
I don't think I've seen a mock draft, like way too early one for 2027 that doesn't have him in the first round. He's
either the consensus top guard. It seems like he'll play left tackle this year, but
exactly. That's the only other things I got from the game. I think the group like tied for 14th was pretty good too. It was like Tennessee. I'll pull it up real quick. Tennessee was in there. I think it's understandable that the game is a little bit, taking a step back on the defense right now because it's all like new faces or first
0 returning starters technically.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's probably for the best that's the case it's in. Yep. So tied for 16th, with Michigan and Tennessee at 85 overall.
Ooh, I mean, you're tied for top 14 going into the year. You're hoping to throw elbows and contend for the college football playoffs. So who knows? I would not personally put Mizzou's odds as great for the college football playoff at the moment, but that's my opinion.
Yep. All right. Jack's main bird of the week. I gave him this link, Peyton, and it comes from Steve Samra at On3 and Rivals. College football rankings, ESPN projects SEC order of finish for 2026. Pick your bird. Which one do you want to go with? Gamecock?
Let's go with Auburn. Classic.
Right, War Eagle. Peyton, where do you think ESPN has Missouri finishing in the top 10?
Like 11.
No,
or in the top 10?
Yep. So Mizzou is in the top 10. I was going to give that away for you. Where do you think ESPN has Mizzou finishing? No, higher than that.
9.
Yep. Missouri Tigers 14.8 in SP plus. That's 0.1 greater than the Florida Gators, ranked 10th right now. A lot of hype around the Florida Gators. Definitely going to be a pretty big year.
Must be a year that ends in a number.
Yeah, which for John Sumrall, his first year with the Gators.
Yeah, I mean, oh God, I saw that Florida, they highlighted Cam Dooley. I thought that's not the Cam Dooley that decommitted from Mizzou a couple of years ago, though.
No.
That would be something, wouldn't it? What? Oh my gosh, is it?
It is.
Oh my gosh, it is.
I think, we knew this. We had talked about this.
We did. Before. We've definitely talked about this.
Yeah, wow. That's him. I remember because the Kentucky.
I didn't know he turned into that caliber of player. Oof. Good thing it was for Kentucky, so no one had to care. Hopefully they don't have to care this year either. I mean, I don't know how you could really be unhappy with that if you're a Mizzou fan. I mean, who's in front of them? Like Tennessee, I think, is right in front of them. I saw. Yeah, Tennessee, Ole Miss. I'm not offended by that ranking at all. Personally, I mean, Oklahoma. I don't know. Like, I'm not a John Mateer guy. I don't think he's any good. I think he kind of proved that last year. But who knows? Maybe second year in the offense will boost them a bit. They still have a ferocious D line. But I mean, are you really going to argue Mizzou's better than any of these teams? I don't think so, personally. I think 9 is the ceiling for where I'd put them. They even put them in front of what, in my opinion, is the swing group of Florida, South Carolina, and Auburn. Those three are always the ones Missouri seems to be grouped in with in these preseason rankings. By the way, this is SP Plus. It's not like a opinion-based ranking. It's like a straight rating from Bill Connolly. So
look at that. The discrepancy.
Those three are not going to be good teams. If those three are good teams, one of those three coaches will probably win Coach of the Year.
So outside the swing group that Peyton mentioned is Florida. So this is the swing group, excuse me. Florida, 14.7, South Carolina, 12, Auburn, 11.1. And we'll lump Vanderbilt in there just because it's in the same kind of number almost, but Vanderbilt at 10. For 14 through 16, Arkansas at 5, SP+, Mississippi State at 3.8, and Kentucky at 3.7.
Yeah.
Tough
Missouri
group.
plays all three of those teams. So
it's a big
you
help.
gotta obviously go 3-0 in those.
Best thing you learned this week, Peyton?
Best thing I learned this week, the SEC home and away opponents were revealed for Mizzou men's hoops. They're the notable thing here. We don't know the dates or anything like that as far as I'm aware. So the most notable thing right now, Mizzou will have a home and home against Arkansas, which they always do, Oklahoma, which I guess they're probably always going to, even though I don't really care about this series in basketball as much. And Tennessee, which is not cool, SEC. You couldn't have given Mizzou a home and home with like South Carolina this year. No disrespect, South Carolina, but I expect them to be a tier below Tennessee.
I always find this really funny. They just always do this where they trickle things out at different times. Sometimes they put it on TV, especially in the football side. I don't know. Like, I think it would have been just fine if they just said, yeah, these are the teams you're playing. These are the ones at home, away. Some of these things were getting reported a little bit ahead of time over the last couple of days on, Mizzou playing Tennessee at home and on the road. But this just plays into what you were saying, Peyton, about I think it was last show, on Monday's show, about that kind of a rivalry between Mizzou and Tennessee.
I thought that was honestly Knowlton that said it about.
I thought you said it too. I thought you said this was something Tennessee wouldn't admit, but there definitely is, a little bit of
Oh,
rivalry.
well, I mean, that's for football. I think it is different in basketball a bit. I know Knowlton said like it would have maybe become a intersport rivalry just because of like the notable like Golston hitting the half-court buzzer. I don't know that I'd still say that it's a rivalry in hoops. I don't like Tennessee in hoops because I don't really like anybody in the SEC in hoops. But also Rick Barnes is a really fantastic coach. They play a really, let's say, rugged style of basketball. But that will probably change this year with the way their personnel seems to match up. But yeah, I mean, I guess it is like for that third opponent, probably random kind of how it gets chosen. I don't think the SEC did it because they think it's going to be some big rivalry, but yeah, also notable, Mizzou has to go to Texas, who I think Texas will be very good this year. They have to go to Auburn, which not a good team last year, but very raucous environment, one of the probably best in the SEC. And they have to go to Florida. So 3 pretty tough ones. They also go to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was good. They better beat Georgia this year. I don't care where they play that game. At home, kind of the biggest one I would say is probably Alabama. They do play Kentucky at home as well. But yeah, definitely some of the tougher games are on the road, which can be maybe seen as a bit of a win and a loss. I mean, you're not going to be hurt as much playing those teams on the road and losing. But just an interesting note there that I think kind of some of their hardest games, just in a vacuum before you consider home and away, are in fact away as well.
Sticking in the schedule news, Peyton, best thing I learned this week comes from Rocco Miller. Sources: Missouri will host Evansville as part of its 2026-2027 non-conference schedule. Third all-time meeting between the Tigers and Purple Aces. I looked up the Heat schedule for this one, Peyton, because I was wondering if Drew Smith can come back and come to this game, maybe do like a first shot or some kind of celebrity get-together before the game. Nothing on the Heat schedule. Okay, I can't find anything, can't get that deep. We don't even know when this game is. I was just kind of hoping maybe I could find like a date in early November, like a Tuesday, and just say like, okay, this one works. He'll come back for this game. Don't know yet. Don't know if it'll work, but I did find that kind of funny. One thing I'll throw over to you, Peyton. Bart Torvik has his early projections out for the Missouri Valley and just like college basketball in general. Do you know where the Purple Aces rank?
In
just overall,
probably in the 200s.
Give me a number.
240.
Close, yeah, 267.
Yeah, that's about what they're worth. It is interesting because you do see like Missouri. Oh, they scheduled a Missouri Valley team. Like that's a pretty damn good mid-major. There's a lot of quality mid-majors. Like Illinois State, I'm sure is pretty highly ranked. Belmont's a fantastic program. Evansville is kind of not there. And so that's kind of, it's a little bit of a bummer that's the one they chose. But, I mean, there's the low-hanging fruit of like, oh, it's the Drew Smith Bowl, everybody.
My favorite thing about it is getting like these maybe older fans replying. It's like, oh, still the non-conference schedule sucks. It's like, the whole offseason we were talking about Nebraska, St. Louis, Kansas, Illinois, constantly bolstering this non-conference schedule. Throw a cupcake in there, enjoy a game for once.
Yeah. I mean, people are going to point out the fact that almost none of those games are at home. And that is a thing to bring up. But, I mean, that's a college basketball-wide issue right now. Nobody's doing home and homes nearly as much. Like just today, Illinois and UNC, I'm pretty sure I saw that's the matchup it was, are doing a neutral site game in Nashville. That's lame. That's pretty lame. But that's just the way it is now in college basketball. These teams, because of the way the net and just kind of the tournament committee works, you're more incentivized to play neutral sites than home and homes. So, I mean, it sucks that you can't maybe pack the schedule with more quality high majors and stuff like that, but it's a problem college basketball wide right now.
As much as Tim Fuller, general manager, and Dennis Gates are trying to boost this Missouri brand, be happy that that brand doesn't have as much recognition, that it's going to be playing games on Amazon Prime or Peacock only, and you can still watch a lot of these games on cable or whatever your streaming service is. I still think that's one positive that you can have right now, is that you don't have to have 1,000 different apps to watch Mizzou basketball. That's the one plus right now. Peyton, best thing that Jack Knowlton learned this week. Excuse my pronunciation here. I didn't get a pronunciation guide from him for this, but Lumumba Vea is a former baker turned impersonator who pays tribute to DR Congo's first prime minister, Patrice Lumumba. He's in position in Guadalajara for his country's game against Colombia. He has a special aura. He's a proper statue, DR Congo fan Luis Makoma said. I saw this a couple times. I think I just saw it on Twitter. I didn't watch any of the Congo games, DR Congo games, to point this out, but I do think it's a pretty cool tradition that he keeps up, where he just goes and stands like a statue at these games. He's standing like on a board, on like a small pillar almost. You can kind of see it in this photo if you're watching with us on YouTube.
Yeah, he didn't get to go to their first game I saw. Apparently he had late visa issues. So, I mean, this is what the World Cup just is. I mean, you see stories like this, every one of them. It's a very fun story.
All right, best beats of the week brought to you by FanDuel. I'm just going to run through Jack and I's real quick, Peyton, and I'll let you give a nice and long explanation for your World Cup pick. Getting into the
Thanks.
the final days of the group stage in the World Cup this year in North America. Jack and I are both taking games on Saturday, and I'll give you the time slots as well. The Group L game, it's the one I have. It's Panama against England. I'm taking England minus 650. It's a 4 p.m. kickoff for that one. In Group K, Jack Knowlton is going to take Portugal over Colombia at minus 115. That game kicks off at 6:30.
So now I have to be World Cup expert, huh?
And you get the full screen.
Nope. Put the spreadsheet back up there, producer man. I'm gonna go Spain minus 220 over Uruguay because I think they'll win. I think they'll win. It's actually a very important game for Uruguay because like they're tied with Cape Verde in the standings right now at 2. So if they lose and Cape Verde at least manages a draw with Saudi Arabia, they're going to advance Cape Verde. So I'm going to say it's the Cape Verde World Cup, and I'm going to have Spain help them out in a big way and take the win here.
Maybe we'll get a full sweep. It's the last time we got a sweep in best beats. Oh, man. Look at all this red over here on the left.
Yeah, that's rough.
Wow.
There it is. 2025 in November.
Last weekend in November.
Panthers.
It's funny because a lot of this is just pick one side or the other. It's either you're right or wrong.
Yep.
Percent shot.
We're not very good.
No, not consistent enough. In tune with each other. Peyton, best joke of the week.
Best joke of the week. This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Kenny, why do bananas wear sunscreen?
Skin peels.
Yep, because they peel. Well done.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of The Unwritten Rule. Maybe Peyton will get a better joke. Maybe it makes me think a little bit more next time. I'm sorry, Peyton. Didn't mean to throw your jokes under the Mario Kart. Oh, that was a good one. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of The Unwritten Rule. We'll be back on Monday talking about the 2024 Mizzou football season and ranking those games, getting to the end of it from the 2024, and then the following Monday will be 2025. And then we're done. Maybe we'll rank 2026. Come back to it. See how we think those games will end up. Little preview of those.
So
games
we're guessing.
Yeah, we're gonna guess. How fun those games are.
That's a bad idea.
Get out of here. But that's gonna do it for this episode of The Unwritten Rule. We will see you guys next week. As always, the show is brought to you by Believe and FanDuel.